Here's my story of how I went from $0 to making $5.5 million in the past few years. So I was born in Malaysia and my parents had immigrated over to Canada when I was about 3 or 4 years old. And when they immigrated, they wanted the best for me. So that was the whole reason they had immigrated over to Canada. And when my parents got here, only my mom was working. So she was only working on a $28,000 salary with 2 kids with my sister and I. And then my dad was working all these kind of crappy jobs, and pretty much in his whole life he was working labor jobs. There was a lot of pressure as I was growing up to get a really good 9-to-5. The plan was basically to go to university, get a really high paying job, something like a lawyer or a doctor, you know, the typical high income career. And basically that was pretty much the path I knew ever since I was a kid. And I would do everything to basically get good grades and, you know, do all these extracurriculars and all these things that were gonna help me eventually become a corporate lawyer. I always wanted to kind of do entrepreneurship, and I started taking these classes in high school, you know, just very basic intro to entrepreneurship type of classes. And one of the classes that my mom actually pushed me into was an extracurricular called Junior Achievement. And Junior Achievement is essentially where you start this very small time business with a group of your friends, and you have a mentor, which is basically a volunteer who's helping you start this business. And the business we started was a collapsible water bottle. So we basically ordered these really cheap collapsible plastic water bottles for a few dollars, and basically was able to sell $6,000 as a group of, you know, 5 or 6 of us. So that was kind of my first venture into entrepreneurship. That's how I started getting the taste for it. But at that point, you know, my whole focus was still becoming a lawyer. I wanted to become a corporate lawyer. I wanted to, you know, secure my income and make sure I had a good life, and also to make my parents proud, because that's what they wanted for me, and that's why they came over to Canada and made the journey over here. So basically after high school, I jumped right into university. I actually jumped right into university when I was like 17 and a half years old. I wasn't even 18 yet because I'm a December baby. So it was interesting because it was kind of surreal, because it was like I was getting closer to my goal of becoming a corporate lawyer. And I knew also too, like, there was law school. So that was kind of the next goal in my head, was I need to get through my bachelor's degree and then, you know, utilize that and do really well in there to get into law school, and then from there become a corporate lawyer and do all these things. So that was where kind of my mindset was at, and I was still trying my best to do really well in school, and that was very important to me, and do all these extracurriculars as well. About halfway through the year, there was a presentation where this person came into one of my entrepreneurship classes. They were like, hey, if you want to run a business this summer, make some money to cover university and living expenses and things like that, sign up here. So I decided to sign up because it was just an information session and I wanted to see what it was about. A month or so later, I go to this like presentation, and it's basically a franchise company that you can purchase as a college student or a university student. And in this particular one, it was window cleaning and house painting. So it's not the most glamorous job. And the other part of it too was that I was taking my bachelor's of commerce degree. Normally, if you're trying to get into law school, you're trying to get a really good internship at one of the big 4 companies. You're also trying to network into, you know, a potential company that you could stay there and work after your degree as well. That's going to give you a good reference and things like that. And maybe you might even get recommended to a law firm. It was kind of a weird situation where I was like kind of wanting to do entrepreneurship, but also it didn't align with the goals that, you know, I had always had since I was a kid, which is becoming a corporate lawyer. For some reason, I don't know why, I decided that I wanted to do that. I didn't want to do an internship. I didn't want to go work at the big 4. I didn't want to go abroad. I decided that I wanted to run a window cleaning and house painting business. And it's not really the sexiest business model. And people around me were kind of confused because it didn't align with my goals. You know, it's kind of a weird thing to say, I'm going to go window clean over the summer instead of taking this, you know, internship at this company and wearing a suit and tie, and instead I'm gonna put on like painter whites. It was just a very interesting situation, but I had the feeling that I wanted to run, you know, a summer business instead. And I decided to do it, and it was one of the best decisions I ever made because it really solidified my love for entrepreneurship and gave me the true direction in my life. You know, it was like one of the first times I actually felt alignment in my own vision, my own goals. So I did that pretty much every summer. Even did it throughout, the university year. And it got to the end of the year and I was still, thinking about going into law school. And I ended up applying for it and, getting in and things like that. But then I got a 9 to 5, for the end of that summer after I graduated. I got an offer at a tech company and it was a really high paying job. Good commission and all these things. And I went in, shadowed, and did it for 2 weeks and said, screw it, I don't want to do this. When I was doing the window cleaning and house painting, and this is where it really set me up for what I'm doing today, is that I was going door to door. So basically what my days were like was I would go to university in the days, then in the evenings, I would drive out and go door to door and door knock in the winter and door knock in the evenings to get leads. So I was really proactive. I was already door knocking and getting leads and selling people for the summer a few months out. So I was pre-booking all these jobs. And that was essentially my whole university years essentially was, going door to door in the evenings. And by the end of it, I had almost 10 people working for me as a 18, 19 or 20-year-old kid learning this industry. Notoriously in house painting, it's a very old industry with a lot of, big players. So it's notoriously harder to crack into. But I was able to actually crack into it and beat a lot of these competitors with my quotes and things like that and do a really great job, for these clients. So I learned a lot. I learned how to hire. I was sick of going door to door every night for 5 days or 6 days out of the week and, hated getting rejected at the door and it just wasn't fun. I wanted to find a different way. And that's when I found a course that taught how to actually do Facebook ads. I went down the rabbit hole, learned Facebook ads and started testing it for myself. I'll never forget this because this was kind of a pivotal point for me where I was like, this is so powerful and I can't believe I didn't find this sooner, but I put in $20 into a Facebook ad and we booked $4,000 worth of work. And that was absolutely insane because that was the first time where I was able to just, sit on my computer, toss this ad up, do a quick phone call and estimate for them, and we were able to close the deal. In that moment in time, that really solidified, what I wanted to do as an entrepreneur and things like that. So basically, I quit that job and then was brainstorming, what I'm good at or what I can jump into or what kind of business I can start. And it clicked. I was able to generate leads and use a skill set. So what I started doing was I started basically offering all these different businesses a free trial. I was like, hey, just utilize my services free and I'd run your ads for you, get you more revenue. And if you like my services, you can continue to hire me. And I did that for a few months and then finally got it to a point where I was actually generating some solid income. And then fast forward a few years, we've done a few $1 million now and we actually still run an agency to this day and we still crush it with Facebook ads. So for the rest of the video, I want to show you how anyone can actually become a digital marketing consultant and start their own marketing agency because I was able to do so as a young kid with no skill set, no tech skills, and no certifications or anything like that. So there's a few things when it comes to starting a digital marketing agency. The first thing being mindset. And this is something that I struggled with because when I first started my business, I had people who were doubting me. I had people wondering why I quit my 9 to 5, a high paying 9 to 5, and why I didn't decide to go to law school, which was the safe route. So I had a lot of people doubting me. And if you're starting a business, you might have that too. And people, I can just tell you now, you will have people who doubt you, and that's something you're gonna have to kind of deal with when you're going through this transition, and it can kind of feel lonely when you're starting a business. So the first thing is just to get your mindset around that and just accept that's the reality of starting a business. That's just gonna happen. And once you are comfortable with that, then you can actually start the business. Going into the actual starting of an agency, the first thing you wanna do is choose a niche. And it's important to choose a niche because if you choose a niche, it's gonna make everything a lot easier when it comes to choosing your offer, crafting your service, and all these things. So in regards to choosing a niche, my tips are, one, choose something you kind of have knowledge in or at least you're somewhat passionate about, or something you're willing to learn about. So for me, in my example, and my story, I was able to jump into the world of house painting because I was a house painter. I knew how they spoke. I knew what they were looking for. I knew what kind of leads they needed. I knew their pain points. So it allowed me to speak their lingo and, have success relatively quickly because I was able to just jump into an industry that I was already familiar with. With a niche, you want to make sure that it's actually a niche that's going to be profitable and that's going to make you money when you start your agency. So there's going to be a couple, things that you want to avoid. So you want to avoid companies where they don't have a high paying client. So when I say a high paying client, the company doesn't have clients that are worth at least like $1,000 to $2,000 of lifetime value. If it's higher, that's even better. So for example, with house painting, an average house painting job can be anywhere from $2,000 to $10,000 and sometimes even more. But let's say on average, it's like $4,000, right? And this is gonna allow you to get an ROI from them a lot easier when you run ads because it costs money to run ads. And you're gonna actually wanna charge, good money to run ads for them. So let's say you're charging $2,000 a month, they're putting $1,000 into ad spend, right? So it's a total of a $3,000 investment. Well, all I have to do is get a house painter one job for it to make sense. If I get them 2 jobs, then they're gonna stay with me and go and pay me every single month to get them more and more jobs. If I get them 3, 4, 5 jobs, well, their ROI and the value that I'm giving them is there and they're gonna stay with me forever, which is how I essentially built my business, was by choosing the right niche. So when you think about it in this sense, it allows you to charge more in this niche. So compare it to like a restaurant, for example. So a restaurant, a meal costs $30. In order for you to charge a $2,000 per month fee to run their ads, you're gonna have to get a lot of people into the restaurant. Versus a house painter, you need 1 or 2 jobs for it to really make sense. So in order for you to scale to, let's say, $10,000 a month in a marketing agency, if you find the right niche who are willing to pay you a month-to-month retainer of $2,000, well, you only need to find 5 clients to hit $10,000 a month. On top of that, if you're bringing them value every single month, which is essentially revenue into their business, they have no reason not to continue using you month after month, which allows you to scale. So the next thing is having a really strong, irresistible offer. And the offer is super important because this is what's gonna actually allow you to land clients. So when I first started, I didn't just start charging $2,000 a month out of nowhere. I started offering a free trial. So essentially what I did was I basically went to a bunch of house painters and said, hey, I'll run your ads for free. If I get you some results and you actually start selling jobs off of my leads, then essentially you can pay me $2,000 a month after that. But the whole point of it is that I offered them a free trial and they had no reason to say no. Remember, most of these businesses are going door to door, relying on word of mouth, and they didn't really have another way of generating jobs for their business. I came in and gave them essentially an irresistible offer, right? They didn't have to pay any money up front to me. I was essentially doing free work until I showed them value. And that's one of the things that I would encourage you to do. It's not something I need to do anymore, but at the beginning when you're starting a business, it's something that you have to do. Is you need to be able to show value in order for someone to be willing to pay you $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month. The final piece of starting a successful digital marketing agency is the service. So for me, I love utilizing Facebook ads because it's really easy to learn. It's easy to set up, very quick to set up for your clients, and they start seeing results right away. In terms of the service, you're probably thinking, I'm not great at it, or I don't have all these, skills, or I'm not a techie person, or all these things. And that's totally fine because, I wasn't either when I first started. And that's why you want to offer a free trial, or you want to offer something of value at the beginning where, they're not necessarily paying you, because it also gives you a chance to learn, also builds up your confidence, and things like that. It's really important to understand that you don't have to be good at Facebook ads right now, but you can learn it, and you can learn it, within a matter of a couple weeks if you put some time into it. So if any of this has resonated with you and you want to start a digital marketing agency, then we have a free training that you can actually access right away, and it'll go through more in depth of what I just covered, and we have a ton of freebies and bonuses to help you guys get started. So if you're ready to make a change, watch the free training and it'll give you your first steps into diving into becoming a digital marketing consultant. The training is only 20 minutes long, and I guarantee if you watch it, you're gonna come out with some sort of value or learning something to help you start your digital marketing agency. If you wanna connect with me, hit me up on Instagram and subscribe for more content like this.